Hello, humanity, the hypertheater. Hypertheater, relevant to the theater that criminal insidiousness is. And as our founders really communicated for us to tell, to speak, to have discerned the difference. They wanted us to communicate about where and how they had to entertain their own words in the words of others, used to screen, to hide their roles from the breaching method they had complete, distinctly multi-front bound by a singular and breaching method, human fact keeping nature, possessions slash hyper possessions, as slavery over everyone. And per a definition of it, that is hard, by that which is so hard that it is the only thing that can be hard and still be that hard and still be the order of the simultaneous itself, the order of what is everything grouped together as itself, as what is how there is the order of things grouped, how we are individuals grouped, areas, ages, sexes. The ancients had this revealed to ourselves. The course of black pupils, whites of eyes, and exceptions in exception nature is where and is how nature communicates. It told us the answers. It's about exceptions in exception nature, not just the extent of possession we have of the identity that is everywhere at once, the hyper simultaneous. That identity of volume. That is why not just our species is individually grouped and species body of volume slash S, where the invisible but still discernible begins and stays the increasingly bound subject slash S, the same way manifest, increasingly valuable, through and as what goes away is what is made through, is making more of itself, as yourself is making more of yourself, therefore, through what is temporary slash lasting. All parts of your body when you were young are gone. All exception nature, and the same demonstration, the same thing. The value of decisions of other, for example, where we are, this group science, tactically ulterior from the one how we are by nature. Now through that, this breaching method knew that we would have to blame other things, others like ourselves. Think even when correctly blaming colonization without blaming the breaching method itself, because it had already been the complete possession slash hyper possession, sickly distinctly the fact keeping nature slavery of every single body everywhere the species body is. It made self value without everyone realizing simultaneously the sciences abridged and uses of that, their names, other people's names is in several tactile terror from how and from why simultaneously, and why distinctly simultaneously slash non distinctly slash hyper simultaneously. This is where and how one identity of hyper simultaneous is making more of this volume we know to an extent more is being made of as that through as the value of that only increasing of that which has been, that which is now, and to the extent we know of that which is to come, that we are in the complete possession of, understanding all ways to an extent. Three distinct identities of or volumes of understanding that, where volume equals value as nature slash nature as value, and the vice versa, conversely, simultaneously slash hyper simultaneously. So Our founders left us clues. And this is our founders are Native Americans. They left each other clues and they held on to them, but they were parted from each other, holding on to the education commonly, non-distinctly, sickly taken from everyone. And sickly, distinctly, consciously knowing the whole time it needed people when they would have to go back and describe the past. So, relying upon needs to blame it on other things other than themselves. That breaching method, because they would and are already having been fact human nature painted into corners, having been roles with uses of passions and emotions, for example, pretended, relevant to instances, reaction, non-reaction. At each age of fact, human nature, sickly, distinctly too. This is vertically and horizontally through ways. And it is simultaneously 5 ways because we are further identities and voicing simultaneously as the ground. Something happens to the worms because there's no more grass going in. We are that body together, just like all the distinct parts of each body share that semi-nature relationship to the complete identity. This is what in English was revealed to teach. In ancient times, before sciences became criminally foreign influence in semi-ancient times. And it was no one's fault because no one realized. All exceptions, exception nature, shows that we have to show what hyper-criminal insidiousness is, / criminal insidiousness, and how there is an order manifest, right to left and left to right, as 2 distinct identities of a shared hyper-identity. Just like, right to left, the identity of right to left being distinct from the identity of left to right. And simultaneously, where Earth's position and each position in it, finite, grouped and together. Nature is showing us, and it wants us consciousness to understand. There are proofs we're not being allowed to get to. Because when people use short words and revelations properly, at every age, sickly, distinctly, they're attached to their words are changed, and there are other words. And this is relevant where and how all identity of the ground locations, voices, individually grouped and together. And then further where there are, how there are, the sciences manifest. Even and with the exception nature about where people are homeschooled. To understand what exception nature is about, I actually on science reveals that there's one identity that is the possession, to an extent discernible beyond this, but as the value of the discernment of a hyper simultaneous distinctly, but also distinctly as those 3 distinct identities of sequence / simultaneous nature, that being an individual is simultaneously. It is being why and how grouped by nature, but now through a filter that has all its words filtered too. And where that is being, no matter who calls it, where it's being relied upon, that can only help, and to justify it can only help but self-value how the past justified it. So the breaching method against the founding parents, which is to say, the males and females of each modern country. We're in a semi-ancient trap of semi-ancient countries before this. No one saw it coming until it was too late. And so all identity ground locations, areas, and states were affected since was breached and entrenched. Conjunction to an as phenomenon where we are value, how we are value, syntactically manifest, how we are, and that perfectly described, better than perfectly described, because only increasingly value to understand this and why and how. The sounds not just of English, but of the other languages. They share an identity better than living, just like the species body of volume that you cannot kill. You can only, stop the value of here, or it's a special difference. And your own and everyone else's simultaneously as its own. It only makes more and more hyper additional and positive to its system or not, but not through these systems, and which are simultaneously uses of positive treatments, negative treatments, identity treatments, names treatments, therefore. But see, everyone misses how it's identity. Everyone values how that is being and having been assigned. Even though with overt criminal enterprises, private ones, the interbranch, all identity ground locations, voices. And further, having been, roles with this at all locations that was sustained between Native Americans. One of the reasons no one described it properly, even though there are ways that are immediately easy to describe and understand, like the value of understanding how that breaching human fact, human nature breaching method was overtly, sickly, distinctly against the Native Americans from being against the colonists, and which would never have wanted to denature Earth and do those attacks against Native Americans had they not already had them used against themselves. Everywhere that the species body is standing from some ancient times, the Earth was tactically denatured, and no one fathomed what how could be measured and exploited. How? At all locations, areas, states, everywhere the species body is, people self-valued counters to them, defenses of themselves, countering as fact, human nature, relevant criminal insidiousness natures of positive treatments and of negative treatments syntactically with words as fact treatment and fact treatment nature and timing nature. No. Used remotely. To use Jane Austen's phrase, sense and sensibilities. To use the phrase of sciences. Nervous system. I am not a doctor. The nervous system of every colonist was the complete possession, individually grouped and together to an extent, of a human fact, human nature breaching method that knew that no matter how powerful an individual voice could get, they would only ever be able to be above, only having been remembered, criminally foreign influence qualities of fact-keeping nature, aspects of fact-keeping nature, and the timing of that increasingly being and having been effectively applied in the furtherance of where and how effectively employed are all the things that it knew that nature was going to demonstrate to us, because it already knew nature had already demonstrated to us the course of black pupils, whites of eyes. The clear. We know the ancients use this to communicate what it does. It's in what identity does. Identity has a relativity to positive and negative simultaneously. Value has relativity to positive and negative simultaneously. See, but now both identity treatments and value treatments are the complete possession /